So now that I have beaten The Last of Us 2 and I've been watching the TV show week to week, I kind of wanted to take a quick moment and go over what I think is the biggest problem for this game, what I think holds us back, and this problem is leaking into the TV show and making it worse. I am not going to be like a lot of other creators and tell you that, oh, this game is terrible because it killed Joel. Oh, this game's terrible because it does this or does that. I think the main thing, uh, skipping that, I think the main thing that holds this game back is the pacing. So I think in theory, all of the decisions that they wanted to make could have worked if they gave them more time, right? So the biggest issue that people talk about when first talking about this game is Joel's death. And what issue do they bring up? I think some people bring up just killing the main character in general isn't a good idea. I don't think that's a problem. I think killing a main character in a story works perfectly. I think the reason people view it as flawed, and the flaw I have with it, is it happens so fast, and then they move on so fast from it that it's kind of hard to process all of it. And I know that is the point in a way, is they wanted to make it happen so quickly that Joel feels ripped away from you, and to make it more realistic that way. But I think what they ended up doing is coming off like they were just rushing through events rather than giving you the proper time you need to process and mourn what's going on. But I think where this really becomes more prevalent isn't in Ellie's part of the game. I think Ellie's part of the game is actually pretty solid in terms of narrative structure and the way the story progresses. The big issue is in Abby's story. So I really like Abby as a character. I think her role in the story is super interesting. I think introducing kind of a new main character and a new POV into the game was cool and a unique way to tell the story. And more than anything, I respect the ambition that the creative team had in trying to create this character that they knew was going to be very difficult to do. But the problem lies is there isn't enough time for Abby. When I was playing this game on stream, I had a lot of people tell me, "Oh, you're gonna hate Abby's side of the story. Abby's side of the story is the worst. It's so drawn out and so long, and I hated playing as Abby for this long." I had the opposite response. I would have really liked to play as Abby more, to be honest. I think Abby is a really interesting character. She's a narrative mirror to Joel, which is cool. And I think where the true joy of her character comes is she's this character who's already accomplished her revenge story. And then where does she go from there? In order to tell that story, the game challenged themselves in creating an entire character from scratch with only half of a game left, in which at the end of the game she's going to be one half of a very important narrative coin. And I think the biggest issue there is they just quite frankly bit off more than they can chew. So the first goal they have with Abby's story is making you understand her motivations, right? Letting you know the backstory with her father, explaining the people that she likes and the way she interacts with people, which is a cool idea in concept, but it needed more time. I feel like very frequently in Abby's side of the story and in the Abby flashbacks, we meet characters or we pass through events, but it very much feels like we are passing through events, like we are just sitting in a flashback rather than we're actually seeing a full fleshed out character with her full fleshed out side of the story. And I think specifically with Abby, this issue is very prevalent in all of the interactions she has with the people of her group. So the game, from the way I took it, wants you to interact with the group in order to understand Abby's perspective, right? In order to understand where she's coming from and understand that she has friends too, and that this isn't just the Ellie story. Like, there are other people that matter in the story too, and that the people Ellie kills are actual humans. They're not just mindless NPCs that she's mowing down. And I really like that in theory, but because we don't have enough time with Abby, I feel every character, with the exception of Owen, just ends up very underutilized and underbaked as a character. The first one that really comes to mind is who's a good one. Oh, Owen is well done, but let's go with Mel, right? Mel and Owen's relationship. I feel we don't get to see enough of that. So when they end up dying, it's hard to feel, or not that it's hard, I mean, I do feel for them, but I would have felt more if I got more time with them. Manny, who is another character in Abby's storyline, I don't even think Manny gets like a real cutscene. He's just kind of someone that she plays with. Same thing with Nora. Nora doesn't get enough time. We only get like one or like maybe two scenes with Nora, and they're really short. We don't get any scenes with Lee. We get one quick little nod with Jordan. And to some of my points about what I'm talking about, is all of these deaths, all of these people that Ellie ends up killing, would have hit a lot harder if we had more to chew on with their characters. But because the game is only like 16 hours long and Abby's storyline is, I think, less than half, and it's her building up a whole character arc, a lot of corners get cut, and that weakens the overall narrative. I genuinely think The Last of Us 2 would have been better off if we had significantly more time with Abby. I know a lot of people don't like that take, but I genuinely think we would have been better off if we had more time. This is really prevalent with Lev as well. I really liked Lev and Yara in theory, and I think their roles in the story are interesting to kind of be this mirror to Ellie for Abby. But we end up with a story that doesn't understand how to really use them. And when we get to the end and Abby walks away with Lev, I was kind of just like, yeah, like I liked Lev and I like the Seraphites, but I would have really liked if we got a full, maybe hour long or 2 hour long arcs that we can fully comprehend and understand the characters that we're engaging with. And what's very interesting, and a lot of people haven't pointed this out, is the TV show is carrying over these problems, but making it inherently worse because they have less time. So the full game is about 16 hours long, and Ellie's portion of the story is like the first portion, but before her and Abby fight the first time, is about 7 hours, I believe. And in those 7 hours are transferred to about, I think it's less than 6 hours of on-screen time. So the TV show has put themselves in a really tough situation where they have a lot of material to adapt in a short time frame, but the material that they are adapting is pretty rushed and has pacing issues. So in making those pacing issues and making the story even faster, you're left with a story that is even more rushed, right? So in the most recent episode, it was a flashback. I thought that episode was actually decent, but I think an episode where this really was apparent was in the episode where Ellie kills Nora. So the episode before this most recent one, and the time in from when Dina gets shot by an arrow from the Seraphites to the time that Ellie kills Nora, it's less than like 10 minutes. I mean, it happens so fast. And because they are rushing this part of the story, we miss all of the cool little details of Ellie killing that one girl who's playing the Game Boy. That's a really good moment from the game because it's this moment where you realize that Ellie is getting people involved that she might not even mean to, and some of the people that she is killing aren't bad people. They weren't people that were involved in Joel's death. They're just people doing their job, just people trying to live, just like her and people that were living in Jackson. And all of those little details in the story are super necessary to telling the full narrative. And because the TV show is on an even tighter time constraint than the game, which is already tight, we're left with a story that feels like it is running at Mach 10 at all times. And to make this even worse, I don't think people understand. If people that play the game understand, people that haven't are just watching the TV show don't grasp the fact that out of the two sides of the stories, I think Ellie's is the better paced one because we already know who Ellie is from the previous game. We know her character, we know what she's all about. But next season is going to have the job of introducing a brand new character from scratch with, from what I've heard, less time than Abby got in the video game. So a lot of people talk about all the different issues that The Last of Us 2 has narratively and how Joel dying is this huge issue and just talking about all the problems I have with it. The biggest problem for me is definitely the pacing. If we had another maybe 4 or 5 hours in Abby's story, I think they could have made a character that's interesting into a character that isn't just interesting, but someone that you feel for and maybe even care about on a relatively equal playing field to Ellie. I know a lot of people do like Ellie. I mean, Ellie. I know a lot of people do love Abby as a character, and I understand why they do. I think she is a good character, but I don't think I still don't think people like her as much as could have. I feel like there's still a large portion of the fandom that hates the character, thinks she's a terrible inclusion, thinks that she was underwhelming. And while I disagree, I don't think their opinions are automatically invalid, because I do agree that we don't have enough time with her, and that lackluster allocation of time does weaken the overall narrative for me. And I tried having a conversation about this with my chat the other day, and I said, I think the weakest part of the story is the fact that the pacing is just terrible. Everything just moves so incredibly fast, and even people who are huge fans of this game just debate everyone who says that it's bad, or really just really back this game in all of its aspects, agree that the pacing could have been better. And all this does is worry more for season 3 and 4 of the TV show, because I have a feeling they're going to make this already pacing issue 10 times worse. And it's just super unfortunate, because with an adaptation, you obviously want to make positive changes and better the story if you possibly can. And there is just no possible way, from what I've seen, to better this story if you don't give it more time. Now, I have heard that it's going to go for 4 seasons, which some people don't like. It's like, oh, they're dragging it out. I think this is a good thing if they actually allocate the time properly and don't put in pointless scenes, and just actually tell the story with the more time they've been given, instead of trying to tell different stories with the time they have been given. But yeah, just kind of want to make a quick video talking about my biggest problem with this game and with the TV show. Do me a favor and let me know in the comments down below if you want to see more videos like this, where I just kind of play games and talk about my feelings about the games and just what I think. As for the schedule upcoming, I know some people that have been looking forward to me playing other games or maybe replaying games. As far as right now, what I'm gonna do is, for the next week or week and a half, while The Last of Us is finishing, I'm gonna be making mainly The Last of Us content on YouTube. It's been kind of eating up all my time. I haven't had the time to stream because I've been so dedicated to making these videos for all of you. But once The Last of Us is done, I am going to be not fully switching, but I'm going to be playing God of War. It's going to be my next game. I've heard a lot of great things about it. I've had a lot of people recommend it to me. It doesn't look like it's going to be that long of a game, so I'll have time to really focus on it and just get that content out there. But yeah, just wanted to say, if you've made it to the end of this video, thanks so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below if you want to see more videos like this, or if you have any different video ideas that you want me to do. Your input is always appreciated, and I'll catch you later. Peace.